This is a CNN special report. America's New War.
Priority. We have structural collapse next to the heliport.
Tonight, the investigation. Did the FBI have two of the hijackers in its sights before the attack? A plan for the future. President Bush readies the nation for war.
We will find those who did it. We will smoke them out of their holes. We'll get them running. And we'll bring them to justice.
Amazing grace, how sweet the sound.
And a man on a mission. A mission to find his daughter and bring her home alive.
I don't have any video of her. To be honest with you, Melissa didn't like to be videoed. She used to holler at me every time I did. I'd give anything to ever holler at her now.
This is a CNN special report. America's New War. From New York, here's Aaron Brown.
Good evening again. The sirens in the background Saturday night in New York City. The lights of the rescue site behind us, not exactly where we expected to be, not at all. But then almost nothing about this week is as expected. Certainly the men and women at Ground Zero didn't expect to be dredging through tons of wreckage and debris, searching for 5,000 missing people. The New York Fire Department didn't expect to be mourning the death of their chaplain and a number of their chiefs. And thousands of families didn't expect to be heartbroken because a son or a daughter, a spouse, a father never came home from work on Tuesday. All of it is unexpected, and every bit of it is sad. In the next 2 hours, a review of the day that has been and a look at what lies ahead on a day when the president proclaimed it is war, a war with an invisible enemy. First, we want to update you on what has gone on today. Here are the latest headlines to date. The Pentagon has activated 35,000 reservists under a military operation it has just declared Operation Noble Eagle, a name you'll hear a lot in the days ahead. These troops will help with what the president calls homeland defenses, making this country safe. And in New York today, a second arrest warrant has been issued. This for a material witness in the terrorist attacks. Federal prosecutors say this witness is not in custody and has not yet been identified publicly. The president formally warned the American public today, quote, "We are at war." And he said the United States was fighting a new kind of enemy, a hidden foe on a worldwide but undefined battlefield. The president also called on America's fighting men and women to get ready. And in Lower Manhattan, of course, the search for survivors goes on as it has been going on since Tuesday. So far, more than 150 bodies have been recovered, and the number of missing climbs towards 5,000. Fire and rescue officials, it was a day to honor fallen comrades.
Patriots from distant ages, seen so longing for their end. Prophets, overseers, and sages all await a beyond.
This was the massive Christian burial for Fire Department Chaplain Michael Judge, Fire Chief Peter Gansey, and First Deputy Fire Commissioner William Feehan were also buried today. Those are the headlines at the top of the hour. As you look at this satellite image of Lower Manhattan, this is the area right in the center of your screen. You can see that plume of smoke where the World Trade Center towers once stood. You see more clearly, perhaps, or the breadth of the damage. Consider this as a satellite photo, how large that area of destruction is and how clear the plume of smoke is. Just a few blocks away, 40 or 50 blocks away from where we are. Quite a stunning scene. Among the most disquieting bits of news today were signs that the FBI had the names of two of the people who were involved, or at least appear to have been involved in the hijacking, and that they may have been tied to another terrorist attack and to one of the world's most prominent terrorists. One of our national correspondents, CNN's Eileen O'Connor, is part of the team that has been working on the investigative side of the story. And Eileen joins us now. Good evening.
Good evening, Aaron. Well, as you said, very disturbing and has just increased the sense of urgency this investigation has. Investigators seek accomplices and associates of the hijackers, people they believe perhaps are also people who may have been trying to hijack other planes and were thwarted in their attempt or were helping the hijackers. This is like an enormous puzzle, investigators are telling me. Actually, more like 3 or 4 puzzles all jumbled together. They have people all over the world, Aaron, finding pieces, trying to fit them together. And they're also digging back into puzzles they thought they'd already solved, finding pieces they missed. What's really disturbing now, exhausted as they are, is that these pieces didn't fit together earlier in time to prevent these tragedies. They booked the tickets on American Airlines Flight 77 from Washington to Los Angeles on Travelocity using a New Jersey address, mailboxes, etc. And names U.S. officials confirm were known to them. Khalid al-Mihdhar and Salim al-Hamzi, once on board, together with al-Hamzi's brother and an old roommate, a known pilot, they took over the flight, crashing it into the Pentagon. Within minutes, the facade of a symbol of American strength crumbled. As the search and rescue efforts continue, sources say the FBI was informed that Khalid al-Mihdhar and Salim al-Hamzi were associated with Osama bin Laden and the bombing of the USS Cole. One source confirms al-Mihdhar was seen on surveillance tape in Malaysia, meeting with the suspect in that bombing.
One was kind of short and the other two was tall.
Al-Mihdhar was a frequent visitor of al-Hamzi and his brother Nawak in the San Diego apartment complex.
It was always together. If they left, it was together. They come back, they're together.
They hung out a lot at the pool, despite telling their neighbors they were studying at a nearby college.
You'll see 3 of them in the pool swimming, or you'll see the dude always looking out the window, another one outside the door on the phone.
At one point, they left, telling one landlord they were in Arizona, living in different cities at different addresses. As it turns out, rooming with another hijacker aboard that plane, Hani Hanjour. Hani attended this flying school, CRM, Cockpit Resource Management, but left without a certification.
He's kind of a waste of time. He wouldn't show up for flights on time, didn't do his homework.
Not a promising student, but skilled enough to carry out the mission. And what is really frustrating and confusing to these investigators, slowing down their job, Aaron, is the fact that many of these men may have used aliases, may have used the same names, and also used very similar names. So it's really confusing things because as you come up with computer records, you're not really sure. They might have the same names, but are these really the same men? Aaron?
Well, that's the problem in part. I mean, here they have these names, presumably, perhaps they're the same people. Are they, in Washington, investigators second-guessing intelligence sources and their effectiveness here? Or is that just hindsight?
Well, what they are doing is going back over everything, and we're talking about incidences all the way back into the 1980s. I mean, this is a tragedy of such huge proportions that nobody wants to really be pointing fingers at each other. It's just too serious. But certainly there is a sense of frustration that perhaps there were some pieces that were missed before. Perhaps they had one piece and another piece was over there and they just didn't get it together in time. Aaron?
And how long were these guys living in San Diego?
They were living there, in fact, on and off for several years. And at some point, as I said, they lived in Arizona. And tonight, in fact, I've just confirmed with sources that a man who may have been, may be the brother of the al-Hamzis looks to be, he is in custody. I've confirmed this tonight on an INS violations. Police are looking at him, but again, he may be the brother. Again, it could be a case of mistaken identity. So they are, though, seeking accomplices of these men. They know that there are still people on the ground, Aaron, who had to have helped them in this hijacking and in all of these tragedies, putting these planes into these buildings. Aaron.
And just going back to where you began, Eileen, this putting together these pieces of the puzzle, more and more it looks like when you get all of the pieces together, you get the face of Osama bin Laden.
You do, and also you get the very broad face of his support, and that is what is very scary to investigators. I mean, what's happening here, Aaron, is you're seeing links to groups in Pakistan, Algeria. I've picked up a name today that could be a Chechen name. We're also seeing links back to Lebanese, the bombing of the Beirut embassy in the early 80s, and that's a Lebanese connection. So all of these connections are very disturbing because it shows that these groups have somehow come together and united, and that is certainly a very daunting opponent. Aaron?
It is indeed. Eileen, thank you. Thank you for your work today. All of this is a good thing to keep in mind, how broad this all is as we go along in the broadcast tonight and start to talk about the military options, the possibilities. It's not just simply hitting a village somewhere. You've got people spread out over a wide area. Also spread out over a wide area is the federal investigation, not just of the people who may have been directly involved in the hijackings and the tragedy on Tuesday, but those people who may have offered them assistance and safe haven. Mike Boettcher in Atlanta has been working on that part of the story, and Mike joins us now. Mike, good evening.
Good evening, Aaron. Well, they've issued a federal warrant for one man they want as a material witness, but he is not in custody. And a Justice Department spokesman, Mindy Tucker, said and indicated this is just the beginning. You're going to see a lot more of this, more people arrested and warrants issued as material witnesses in this crime. There is one man already arrested as a material witness. He was detained on Thursday when he was taken off a flight. He had a fake pilot's identification. He was actually charged on Friday as a material witness. And also there are 25 other people in detention by the INS, and the FBI is speaking to them. Some, we are told, are cooperating, so we should see a lot more actual arrests made coming very soon. Now, the FBI is also trying to learn as much as they can about the 19 known hijackers aboard those 4 aircraft, and they have developed a list of characteristics. Now, it's a common trait of characteristics, and if we can put that up, here are a few of them. The list is actually quite long and has a lot of different characteristics, but we've seen the FBI list, and of course there's the obvious. All of them are male, most in their early 20s, likely to have Saudi passports, likely to have visas issued in Saudi Arabia, clean-shaven, and Western appearance. But what we also have is the training manual of Al-Qaeda, the bin Laden organization. So if indeed this was a bin Laden operation, they would have followed this training manual. So let's take a look at these characteristics and go to the training manual and compare them. Now, if you look at the characteristics where they talk about likely to have Saudi passports and likely to have visas issued in Saudi Arabia, in the manual it says, the bin Laden manual, it says all documents of the undercover brother, such as identity card and passport, should be falsified. Now, in that list given by the FBI, they said most had Saudi passports, but judging by that, it's no guarantee that they actually are Saudi Arabian citizens or those are actually valid passports. Let's go back to the list. Let's look at the last one, clean-shaven, Western appearance. Okay, let's go to the bin Laden manual and see what they say about that. The photograph of the brother in these documents should be without a beard. So they're saying in the documents, let's say, for example, a false passport or a driver's license, they should be clean-shaven so they do not bring attention to themselves as perhaps being Muslim. And there is one other common characteristic, but it has nothing to do with personal characteristics. It has to do with targets. Let's go back to the bin Laden manual. And in that, there is a final you can see it on the bottom. It's number 7. It's hard to read. Here we go. It's coming up. This is in terms of picking targets. And this will send some chills up if you read this. Blasting and